Hello, hello, hello! Welcome to Jay the Flash 1989 Twitch.tv channel. I am your boy Jay the Flash, aka the Dallas Cowboys Grim Reaper on TikTok. Jump over there and hit the follow on that one. Make sure you have the follow on here as well, and turn those notifications to on so you can join us for our lives. We are here for the Week 14 NFL review. What a crazy week it was. Amazing football all around. Some upsets. A lot of other crazy things that happened. Very crazy schedule this week. A lot of games I did not expect to go what they did. A really great game in Baltimore. Really two solid games last night. Not expecting that. And how about them Cowboys in a big win over the Philadelphia Eagles? Getting that number one seed in the East for now. Obviously, tiebreaker wise, if we finish out the year, everybody winning out, then they would still get that win in the NFC East due to conference record. But for now, it is ours. We got a lot to go over today. We got Get Up on in the background. I think they're about to finish up, and we'll be going into First Take. Be watching a little bit of that while we go through this. But we got a lot to talk about. A lot of teams having some craziness. And we're going to kick it off with last Thursday Night Football's game. New England at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Patriots ended up 21, Pittsburgh 18. Not the first upset of the week, honestly. I think a lot of people expected, the Patriots not to be even competitive here, even with, the way the Steelers' offense have been struggling. Kenny Pickett does go down for the Steelers last week, so they're going into this game with Mitch Trubisky. And it showed that, man, having a good backup quarterback is something I think a lot of teams are probably going to try to invest in going forward. So many injuries this season to the quarterbacks and having to rely on backups. There's some teams showing you, hey, we got the one. Last year it was Cooper Rush for the Cowboys. This year, with the Bengals, Jake Browning showing what he can do. Now, the question is, do you let him go? Does Jake want to be a starting quarterback? So does he try to get out of there? I think Cooper was easy because Cooper's like, yeah, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I'm getting paid a lot of money to sit behind Dak Prescott, and if I need to go in, I can go in. Jake Browning could be a different story for him, but he's playing some good ball, and we'll get there. But Bailey Zappi comes in, gets the win for the Patriots. Even with their win, they were still eliminated from the playoffs, but, you don't want to. There's no moral victories in the NFL, but had to feel good just for the Patriots to pick up a win here. Pittsburgh, they're still on the down. They've got to do something different, and I don't think it is firing Mike Tomlin. I've heard a lot of Mike Tomlin firing things out there, but I don't think it's him. I just think they need to change the players they're taking. I don't think they've gone. I think they've gone the wrong route as far as the draft and stuff the last couple of years. They haven't drafted that normal Pittsburgh Steelers players. They've always done good about finding wide receivers. I'm not saying that because wide receivers are always something that they find, but they don't have that Steelers mentality of physicality, always playing through the ball. We've seen some plays where some of their receivers are just kind of lollygagging out there. They're not playing hard. And it's starting to catch up to them, I think. And I think either if you're going to get rid of Mike Tomlin, then you're going to have to find somebody with an offensive genius mind to maybe try to catch up with some of these teams. Or if you're keeping Mike Tomlin, you got to build around Mike Tomlin's philosophies, and that's toughness and always giving it 110%. So I think they can do that. They're talking about the Dolphins game right now, which we're going to get into later, but definitely a crazy game. But they need to finish that strong, and I do think for, New England, just keep playing football. You're going to get a good draft pick this year, see where they go. Do I think it's the end of Belichick there? I do. I think they do a mutual parting of the ways. I think Belichick's kind of, and he needs to make a decision. Does he want to be GM coach? Does he want to coach? Because that might be the thing, man. Take some of those roles off. Maybe just be the GM and go find a coach yourself. and then you don't have to worry about that stuff as much. But yeah, I definitely think that's where we're heading for New England. But next up, we have Tampa Bay at Atlanta. Tampa Bay 25, or no, Tampa Bay 29, Atlanta 25. Baker Mayfield leading a game-winning drive. The battle for the NFC South it's heating up for sure. One of those three teams that are in that division are getting a spot in the playoffs and a home game, and a destiny with either the Cowboys or the Eagles. I would not want to play either if I'm them. But, who's it going to be? Saints, they got to win as well. I think Tampa Bay is technically now in the lead in that division. I think it is going to be Tampa Bay. I think they just have a little bit more experience on the defensive side and offensive sides of the ball on how to get to the playoffs, so I think they will. Obviously, Baker has his moments throughout the year, so definitely I think they're the ones taking it. Atlanta is still just a very young team. But, there were some signs for Atlanta yesterday I think are very good. Look what happens when you get Kyle Pitts the football. Touchdown. Look what happens when you get Bijan Robinson the football. Touchdown. I don't know what his hang-up is. Arthur Smith, I think, right, is the coach. With not trying to get those two the ball. I don't know if he's trying to purposely throw, to get better draft picks. But those two are stars, and he needs to let them be stars. And I think they would have won a lot more football games this year if he would have just got them more involved into offensive schemes. As far as Tampa Bay, like I said, Tampa Bay is playing great football. They're playing good football when they need to. Mike Evans is a beast. Baker Mayfield's doing his thing. That defense is standing up when it needs to. That's the reason I'm picking them to win this division and getting that home playoff spot. However, like I said, it's who wants to play the Eagles or the Cowboys, and I don't think you want to play either of those. Right now, I'd prefer to play the Eagles versus the Cowboys, but either way, one of those two teams will get to go to an NFC South team and basically get an advance there. Detroit at Chicago. Chicago 28, Detroit 13. Second upset of the week. Now, granted, a couple weeks ago, Chicago really played Detroit well, almost won the game. They kind of lost it themselves with, that fumble/safety. This for the Detroit Lions right now, it is not looking solid as far as, they were trying to make a claim that, they were the number one team in the NFC a couple weeks ago, and now it's kind of just that offense is not showing the same level of play as they had a few weeks ago. The defense has always been that kind of up and down roller coaster for the Lions, and it's starting to catch up to them, and their schedule's not getting any easier. They got a match with the Cowboys in a couple weeks. They got a few other games coming up that are going to be tough. I think they've played the Packers already twice, maybe. They definitely got a Vikings game, which I don't know, maybe they shouldn't be worried about that anymore. But they're still, inconsistency is not going to win you games in the playoffs, for sure. You got to find a consistency and a run towards the end of the season. Winning in December and January is huge. Doesn't matter what you did in September, October, November. If you get to December, January, February, and you start losing, it's not going to cut it. So the Lions definitely need to figure something out. Chicago's looking solid, though. I think they're going to build on this for next year. Does it save the head coach's job? I think a lot of people want him out of there, but they're starting to win football games, so they have a shot at the playoffs still, too. Like, the NFC playoff picture for the bottom, for the at least 6 and 7 spot, are wide open for anybody to take. So, we'll see where it goes. I mean, they got to keep a winning streak going. They definitely got some tougher teams coming up. Very possible, though. Still very possible Chicago makes playoffs, and I wouldn't be surprised by it either. That bottom of the NFC is kind of, like I said, it's very chaotic. A lot of spots open. A lot of teams starting to falter now, and a lot of teams starting to pick up. So it's going to be coming down, I think, to Week 18, and we might have 4 or 5 teams fighting for that last spot, and it could come down to tiebreakers. It could come down to head-to-head matchups. I don't expect anything else. Cincinnati, Indianapolis. Cincy 34, Indy 14. Like I said, we were talking about it earlier. Jake Browning, man, he's playing good football. He's come in. They've figured out what they need to do with him to score points. The defense is stepping up when it needs to. credit to Zach Taylor on this. You know, when you see a backup quarterback come in and do very well with its team, you have to give a lot of credit to the head coach and the way he handles things, the way he's coaching this young man up. I mean, Jake Browning's a good quarterback. I thought he, you know, when they took him the year after Burrow, I'm like, that's a little weird. But again, I think it's proving that you need a great backup quarterback for some years just to be safe, especially with Joe Burrow. He has not had a healthy season. Not one full healthy season. He's finished seasons after he's gotten healthy and stuff like that, but he has not had a full healthy season ever since coming in the NFL. So that's cause for concern. So you get that backup. You know, I don't think a lot of people expected what Cooper Rush did last year, you know, with that going down like he did. But it's showing that, hey, a great backup quarterback. The Eagles proved it with Nick Folk. You know, as long as your backup quarterback can play your system right, you're fine. You know, the Niners proved it even last year without having one. You know, if you lose all your quarterbacks, you can't do anything either. So backup quarterback might become a very discussed position this offseason. With all the injuries that have been happening to quarterbacks this season and stuff like that. So we'll see where that goes. And I think since he's proven, Indianapolis is just, you know, I think they're going to make the playoffs still as a wild card. They play good football. They have a very strong defense. Obviously, they need to probably lean a little bit more on Jonathan Taylor in the run game again. Gardner Minshew has his up and down games. Again, they're missing Anthony Richardson. I think that's a different story. And all they need to do this offseason is go find. I like Michael Pittman. I just don't think he's a true number one. I think he's a true number two wide receiver. And they can go find that star. And there's going to be one, Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State, in that draft for them to take. Hopefully they can get him because I think that will turn. Hey! No. No. Shush. Where's your toy? Go get your toy. Sorry, Bulldog's acting up. Yeah, they just need that. I think they need that extra star on their offense to really play. Their defense is going to come around. They always have good defense. So the draft's going to be a very important time for the Indianapolis Colts this offseason to take that next step up into maybe winning the division again. So, and they still could win the division now. We're going to talk about that right now, actually, with Cleveland versus Jacksonville. Cleveland 31, Jacksonville 27. I don't know what's going on with the Jags. Man, that's 2 losses in a row you can't have. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence is a little banged up. But this defense is giving up plays that they normally don't give up. They're not getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback. It's very weird. Obviously, you know, they're still scoring some points here. 27 is not nothing, but they're giving up 31. And Cleveland's defense is pretty good, so you can't just mess around with a team like this. And I don't know, maybe Jacksonville was fraudulent for being the AFC number 1 seed there for a minute. And they kind of did this last year too. They kind of, you know, towards the end of the season, they were very fluctuating on when they're good, when they're bad, when they're good, when they're bad. I mean, even in the playoffs, you know, that first half was the worst first half of football ever. They still ended up getting the win, which is why I think Brandon Staley needs fired from the Chargers. But it's not good football. And, you know, the Ravens are playing some pretty solid football right now, and that's the team you got to worry about the most, I think, in the AFC right now. Granted, when playoff time comes, Kansas City does something different. Buffalo could be doing something different. I don't think who else is really in there. I mean Miami, but we might see something with Miami that might not be good. We'll see how that injury, and we'll talk about that when we get to the Monday Night Football games. Yeah, Jacksonville just needs to be better. And Cleveland, man, they're fighting for that playoff spot too. You know, I think they'll probably end up being the 5 seed if they can keep this up. Joe Flacco, you know, 300 yards for, you know, an old guy. It's not bad. Can he keep it up? Who knows? Again, this is kind of that situation where it's like you need that really good backup quarterback. Now, granted, Deshaun Watson wasn't playing lights out football either when he went down, but he was playing better than most quarterbacks. And he was helping them get wins. So that's what you need. And especially with a defense this strong, although their defense is starting to give up points again, which could be a little concerning, but it could be because they're on the field so much. But a great win for Cleveland. Like I said, they got to keep their playoff hopes alive, get into the playoffs and see what they can do. Maybe they make that magical run. The AFC is kind of wide open minus Baltimore. I think Baltimore, and since he's starting to get back up there too, but Baltimore is really showing why they're the number one seed in the AFC right now, and I think they'll keep it going. Carolina at New Orleans. New Orleans 28, Carolina 6. The Panthers are still, and I watched parts of that game, and the mistakes that the Panthers are making. There's a reason you only have one win this season, and I don't know what they can do differently, honestly. You feel like they're drafting right and they're doing things, but they are just making so many mistakes, which then turns to head coaching and upper level management, which they've made so many changes on too. And maybe that's the problem. Slow it down a little bit. Take time. Let these coaches get their philosophies put in before you're just letting them go, because it takes time for players to sink and get the same mindset as their head coach. Just because you have a losing season doesn't mean that coach is a bad coach. You need to see what's going on in the field, what players are doing, and stuff like that. So, New Orleans, they got to fight for that playoff spot. They could be getting a potential wild card or even winning the NFC South to get that home game. Derek Carr's looking up and down like he normally does. Their defense is still playing very solid. Their offense just needs to find an identity. I feel like they don't have an identity. One week it's get the ball to Taysom Hill as much as possible. The next week it's just get it to try to throw the ball to Chris Olave, and I just don't understand where they're going as an offense, and maybe that's on me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not catching it right. But I think it's going to be why they don't win the South. I mean, they still get a chance at a wild card, but I don't think they're going to be the ones coming out of the NFC South as the champions there. So we'll see how that goes. Hey, Mitch, can you go watch Paw Patrol? Watch Paw Patrol. New York Jets at Houston. New York Jets 30, Houston 6. What a turnaround for Zach Wilson. This Houston team's been kind of flying pretty high. Hey, shh. I'm doing a show. Hey, hang on a second, guys. Sorry about that. The little guy and the bulldog were arguing with each other. Yeah, what a turnaround for Zach Wilson putting up 30. Houston's on a climb up, and now they lose their star wide receiver. Now C.J. Stroud's in concussion protocols. Man, it sucks for Houston because they were playing such good football, and don't put this on Houston being a bad team at all. This is really coming down to injuries. They'll be better again next year. Don't worry about that. I think they're going to be fighting for that division title. And they've got a really young, talented team. They are a few more pieces away from being an elite team. We'll see that next year for sure. But for New York, that's, amazing win. Zach Wilson looking good. That's, he was getting a lot of flack for not wanting to play last week, but he said he wasn't feeling right. Comes in, looks good, looks solid. Had New York fans going crazy for him. I feel bad for the young guy because we as Dallas fans, we have a very similar situation with our quarterback. Man, when he's doing bad, it's get rid of Dak this, get rid of Dak that. When he's finally, when he's playing amazing, that's my quarterback. We get it. So keep your chin up, Zach. You're playing good football now. Let Aaron keep coaching you. That's all I can say. You don't need to be a starter. Like I'm saying, these NFL teams need really solid backups, and you could be a really solid backup. I wish you could be a starter. You have the arm talent to be a starter, but you don't have the mindset to be a starter. Keep playing football, though. Man, you're a good football player. So, but yeah, New York picking up a win here, keeping that playoffs hope alive. So, do we see Aaron Rodgers? Probably not. But if they make the playoffs, it's not a bad season for the Jets. Game of the week right here. Los Angeles Rams versus Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore 37, Los Angeles 31. Walk-off punt return. Your boy loves those. It was a great game. The Rams are playing really good football too. This loss does not, it hurts them a little bit, but I still think they're going to be in the playoffs as well. They've got a tough schedule coming. We need them one game against the Niners. Just one game, Rams. Just win us one game. But they're playing good football. They're looking like their Super Bowl team. Not 100%, but a little bit more like them. I can't say much bad about what the Rams did here. They just bad tackling on special teams ends the game, but still a great way to end the game, honestly. And you can't be ashamed for losing that game. But Baltimore, man, this defense has struggled the last couple weeks. Defenses do that. We saw it with Dallas and Seattle, so we know how that goes. But Baltimore's still showing, hey, man, this offense can really put up numbers when it wants to. Which if I'm any other team in the AFC right now, I'm like, dang it. I don't need the Baltimore offense to have a lot of confidence. Because once the defense gets back to where it's at, it's going to be hard to stop Baltimore. The way the Chiefs are playing right now, the Bills haven't been good against good teams, or they haven't been great against good teams. They've beat some good teams, but not by much. They've destroyed bad teams, but they're struggling against the great teams. So I wouldn't put that there. Cincinnati, maybe. It's an in-division rival sometimes, but it's Jake Browning, not Joe Burrow. As much as Jake Browning's been playing great, it's still not Joe Burrow. And Cleveland can always play hard for the Baltimore, but Baltimore's looking pretty solid right now. Definitely the solidified AFC number one team right now. No question in my mind there. And Lamar's making a case for his MVP again. I still don't think he's up there with Dak just because of some of the weeks where he's had, he hasn't been the reason they won or anything like that. So Minnesota at Las Vegas, the worst game of the week. So we go from the best game of the week to the worst game of the week. Minnesota 3, Las Vegas 0. Literally a field goal only scored here. The stat line in this was punt, 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 punt. Then you come in the second half, punt, punt, fumble, punt, 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 fumble, punt, interception, something, end game, field goal. Terrible game. Both these teams should be ashamed, even though the Vikings pick up the win here, keeping their playoff spot pretty secure for now. But neither one of these teams should be happy with this. This was terrible. Now, maybe it was the greatest defensive battle of all time. I don't think it was that. I think both offenses were just very stale. Don't know what's going on. Josh Dobbs, 6 weeks ago was looking like a world beater, and now he's back to... And I think that's the Josh Dobbs problem, why he hasn't found a team. Is he plays really good for 3, 4, 5, maybe 5 games tops, and then all of a sudden, back down to bottom. So... The whole did Kirk Cousins lose his job thing? Probably not now. I mean, the Vikings are probably like, crap, we'd love to have Kirk. They're Justin Jefferson hurt again. Chest injury, but they say it's not super serious. That man needs to get out of Minnesota, I think. I think that's the best thing for him. But just a terrible game. Nothing else to say on that. Seattle at San Francisco. San Francisco 28, Seattle 16. I had a lot of hopes for this game at first. My wife's a Seahawks fan, so I was rooting very hard for the Seahawks to beat the Niners. Then we would have had the overall number one in the NFC. But, hey, the Seahawks played great for 3 quarters. Finally, this Niners offense just had worn out the defense enough, and they got the plays they needed to. This Niners team is looking pretty solid. They're very scary. I still believe Dallas can beat them, but I have to. But the Niners are very good, and as long as they stay healthy, they're going to be very good. Again, Brock Purdy making some cases for MVP. A little bit more this week than last week, I would say. And wow, they destroyed the Eagles. Why would you not? This week was a little bit more on Brock Purdy throwing the ball down the field. That was kind of the knock I was given is, man, he's just throwing these little dink and dives to Debo and McCaffrey and Kittle and letting them make plays. He had a lot of good downfield throws in this game. And had to, come back from a little bit. The Seahawks were fighting really hard and had the lead a couple times. So, San Francisco looking very strong. I will say on the play at the end, I am on DK Metcalf's side on this one. Now, granted, he needs to get that anger under control because obviously that's what caused the bigger problem. But Fred Warner did shove him in the back after, he got tackled. So... Should there have been a penalty on Fred? Yes. Should they both have gotten penalties? Yes. Did they throw the wrong 2 players out? Well, they threw Metcalf out, which was fine, but they threw number 2 out, who came in at the end, so that's fine too, I guess. But Fred Warner should have got just a little bit. And you know how much I like Fred Warner. I praise Fred Warner a lot on here. And I just think that was a little bit of a cheap shot because he knew, hey, I just touched Metcalf once. He's going to freak out on me, and I'm going to get him out of this game and finish it off. So, again, for the Seahawks, it was Drew Lock, not Geno. I think Geno playing how he played against Dallas the week before, it would have been a different story. He's dealing with some injuries there. I'm kind of sad/happy, sad out because obviously I'd love to beat the Niners, but now I think we're going to get a healthy Geno against the Seahawks or against the Eagles. Come on, Seahawks! We got 4 teams. Well, 4 games, 3 teams. We need to win from either the Seahawks, the Giants, or the Cardinals. I'm not hopeful on the other 2 as much. I don't want to put all my eggs in a basket on 2 of the lower tier teams, but the Seahawks got to start winning games, get in the playoffs. So this is where it starts right here with the Eagles. The Seahawks have got to get this cover of this stretch they got coming up. So come on, Seahawks. Into what I think is honestly the crybaby game. I don't know. I'm not going to call it crybaby game. We're going to call it just, play football game. Because both these teams are showing that at times they have spectacular moments, but then they just forget how to play freaking football. And it was Buffalo versus Kansas City. Buffalo 20, Kansas City 17. Obviously, the game came to a very controversial ending. Kadarius Toney lines up offsides. Refs throw the flag. Play presumes because it's an offside, it's not a false start. Patrick Mahomes hits Travis Kelce right in the middle. He's running. He's about to get tackled. Turns, throws to Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney scores. Should be, the go-ahead touchdown. Obviously, there's still like a minute 14, so the Buffalo could have scored and still won the game. But we don't get to see that. They call it back. Next 4th down play is an incomplete pass. Patrick Mahomes obviously frustrated. And my problem with the whole thing is don't complain about that one call. Don't say you shouldn't call that play because we scored a touchdown. That's not how he should have worded it. I think he regrets the way he worded it. What he should have said was, why are we not getting consistent calls in the officiating? Why? Why is it one week a team can do whatever they want and the next week, boom, you get hit with that penalty? And it's like they said, they were lining up offsides all night. They didn't get their warning from what they understood. So, they should have got the warning first. But I'm also with, no, you don't need a warning. You need to just play football. But I do think the officiating needs to be more consistent. I saw it when I went and watched Seattle versus Dallas, just the inconsistency on what's pass interference and what's not pass interference. Now, granted, they've been calling this offensive offsides penalty a lot more this year, but it has been on the tush pushes, mainly because the offensive linemen are getting kind of creeped up there to get the better start. And so you haven't seen it called very openly on regular plays, but it's still a little bit on Kadarius Toney. Now, there's video of him going like this to the ref, but I watched it when I played football, and I checked with the referee. My head stayed there till I knew for sure he signaled. Kadarius Toney went like this, and bam. So I don't think he ever got really a signal from the ref like, hey, yeah, you're good. Now, granted, you're an NFL superstar. This isn't Grid Kid anymore. This isn't high school football. Get your ass on the right part of the ball. There's no reason for you to be up that close to the line. Take one step back. Line up with your tackle, not your center. And that's the other thing I get so frustrated with some of these teams now, and the way they design that V. It used to be we had to be a solid wall. Now it's like a V shape. But that's then on them. So line up with your damn tackle, not your center. That way you're on the ball and not over. But yes, consistency with the officiating needs to be addressed. I'm hoping the NFL addresses it later this offseason. Just make every play reviewable, for crying out loud. That one obviously is not going to be something that matters anyways. He was offsides. They're not saying that. It's just the fact that they called it right there at the end of the game. Now, granted, a lot of Chiefs and Eagles fans this week are not happy with officiating the last couple weeks. And it's like, oh, when you don't get the calls, it's not good for you. But when you do get the calls, oh, that's just how the game goes. So bias is always going to be there. And hypocrisy for teams are going to be like the way it is. But just get us some consistent officiating and reviewable plays on some of these penalties, especially pass interference. There was a lot of pass interference calls missed yesterday. Not just in Dallas, Philadelphia, but in a lot of games that I watched. So Let's get some consistency, officials. If you don't, and again, I get it, you're part time because the NFL. Then either the NFL needs to figure out a way to pay these guys year round so that they're making money and they can focus more on officiating. Or if you don't care about being an NFL because you got a way better job, then stop being an NFL official. Let someone else do it. Let someone who actually cares. I'll take that application. I'll be an NFL ref. I don't care. I know what I call football. Teach me at least a little bit though. I still need to learn some, but I think that's the other thing. Education and these referees need to be upgraded a little bit and taught better. We shouldn't be talking about this. We shouldn't have to be talking about officiating changing games. Denver, Los Angeles. Denver 24, Los Angeles Chargers 7. Herbert seems to have possibly broken a finger in his throwing hand. This Charger season, I'm telling you, man, it's done. And Brandon Staley's butt better be going out the door. Like, as talented as this team is, on offense, on defense, they should not be in this position. They should be competing with the Chiefs for that division title and being one of the top teams in the AFC, and they're not. They clearly are not. Brandon Staley needs to go. Get him out of here. I don't know why I'm such a Chargers fan. Maybe it's because Kellen's there now. I don't know. But Staley needs to go. I've actually liked the Chargers a lot. I like Phillip Rivers a lot. I like Del T a lot. I like Justin Herbert. I like Keenan Allen. I like the Chargers. As a Cowboys fan, they're probably my second. So Brandon Staley just needs to go. For Denver, man, they're keeping going. They're gonna get that play. They're getting that playoff run. They want to get there, so this is what they got to do. I think they'll get the 6 or 7. I don't think they'll get the 5. They might get the 5. The AFC, as much as the NFC's bottom 2 are open, the AFC's 3, basically 2 through 7 are open. One's about the only thing I think is decided now, and it's going to be Baltimore. Obviously, there's still some chances for teams to get there. Miami has to win out now, which I don't think they're going to do. I think they're going to go 2-2. They're going to lose to Dallas. They're going to lose to Baltimore because they got to play Baltimore as well. The Jags, I think, are out of it. The Chiefs are going to be out of it now. So really, it just comes down to Baltimore and Miami. So yeah, this is not going to happen. So we'll skip Dallas, Philly. We'll go to them for last, like we always do. The Monday night games. Crazy Monday night games. I watched the Tennessee, Miami. My wife was watching Green Bay, New York in the other room. That way we could kind of keep both of them going. Yeah, we'll go with Tennessee, Miami first. I think this almost helps Tyreek's MVP case as much as you hate to see a player get injured, but he went out and this offense is not the same. It is 100% not the same. I think Tua gets a sense of he loses that security in Tyreek because he didn't look like the same quarterback. Give the credit to the Titans defense too, though, that they put a lot of pressure on him, and I've said that. I said that last year when they got Tyreek. I've been saying it from the start. The best way to beat the Dolphins is don't worry about covering Tyreek. Just make sure he can't get the football, and the best way he can't get the football is you sack Tua. So the Titans defense, 5 sacks, crazy good game. You know that was going to come though. Their coach is a defensive-minded guy. But also Will Levis being cool and clutch at the end. He had some issues in the game, some turnovers, but when it came down to it, they needed 2 solid drives, and he gave them 2 solid drives. Wins the game. Crazy way to end it too. I thought it was over finally. Miami forces those 2 turnovers, scores 2 touchdowns. You're like, okay, nope. Titans come, boom, score a touchdown, 2-point conversion, sweet. Now all you have to do is score a touchdown and kick an extra point. They could have went the easy route and just touchdown, extra point, tie the game, go into overtime. But no, they're like, we're gonna go for the win. We're gonna cut it off here. Let's finish this, and they did. And I think for Miami, again, the Tyreek thing could be detrimental. Let's see how bad the ankle injury is. Is he gonna be out for multiple weeks? Do you say, all right, hey, look, we've got 2 tough games on our schedule and 2 easier games on our schedule? I don't know if they actually do, though. Let's take a look, because they might have a very tough schedule coming up. Come on. So they got the Jets, which are not a tough or not an easy win by any means. The Jets play everybody tough. Zach Wilson's looking better, so that couldn't, Then Dallas, Baltimore. Actually, Miami has a very tough schedule, so you can't really afford to rest him. I mean, if he's clearly injured, do not play him. But if he can go, I think Tyreek should go because he just changes their offense completely. And you saw he came back in and they started driving again, and he just couldn't gut it out. He said it was too much, and I don't blame him. I know what ankles can do. When you try to step off on anything and your ankle just doesn't have the power to give you can't do nothing. So, Miami's they've got a tough schedule, man. They could go 0-4 in this stretch. They 100% could. I think they'll beat the Jets. The Jets are going to play them hard. I think they're going to lose to Dallas. I think they're going to lose to Baltimore. And I think they're going to lose to Buffalo. Because Buffalo is going to be playing for a playoff spot where I think Miami will already be in the playoffs. But it's going to be tough. Tough sledding for them. In Tennessee, man, I like their fight, man. A lot of people thought they were fire selling earlier, and they were trying, I think. I just don't think they got the right offers for some of their players. They did obviously trade some defensive players away. But I like the fight. I think they're trying to show what Will Levis can be next year, and he's looking pretty good. Give him some more seasoning. He's going to be pretty good. They definitely need to draft a little bit, and I think it's going to be on the defensive side, and maybe another wide receiver weapon to kind of pair with D-Hop. But yeah, they're not looking bad at all. They'll be fighting again next year. I thought they were going to be in rebuild, but I think now they can go into we just need a few more pieces mode. Green Bay, New York Giants. New York 24, Green Bay 22. Tommy DeVito. Danny DeVito's long-lost third or fifth cousin, something like that. Look, a lot of people were high on Green Bay last week, including myself, after the win against the Chiefs. They looked solid. But then you remember they're still a very young team. They lost two of their stars last week, and it kind of showed this week that they didn't have them. The offense got stale at times. The defense was trying its best to keep up, but when you're on the field so much, you get tired. And honestly, give Giants credit, man. They are fighting hard. They have a chance at the playoffs still. They want to get back in there. I want them to win. I'm a Cowboys. Go Giants, go! And then it's after the season's over, no more Giants. But come on, Tommy DeVito. I need you to find some magic in the next couple weeks, and I need you to beat the Eagles at least once. Just give me one win. I will. Someone come teach me how to do the gabagool. I'll root for Tommy DeVito for a couple weeks. I can do that. It hurts a little bit when I say that, but I can do it. I can tough that out. It good for them because, man, it looked like their season was over. Dallas beats them handily twice. Other teams are beating them handily. They start fighting, yeah. They beat the Commanders. They get a little momentum. They win again. Like, Tommy DeVito's looking better than Daniel Jones. Now, some analysts are saying this is looking good for Daniel Jones because now, the Giants are working their way up. They're maybe not going to get such a high draft pick. Or low number draft pick, I guess you want to say. They're not going to be in the top 10 maybe, and so they won't take that quarterback. But I'm like, this is making the Giants look even worse for signing him over Barkley. Like, I would have went for Saquon, paid him, franchise tag Daniel. Daniel had no proof that he was going to be an elite quarterback that should be paid that much. No proof. No proof whatsoever. They made the playoffs. It was the coach. It wasn't the quarterback. So I think that was a mistake, and I think the Giants are realizing this mistake. We'll see where their offseason goes. They still got to finish out this regular season. Like I said, 2 games against the Eagles. Come on, Giants. I believe in you. 1 win. I just need 1 win. And like for Green Bay, again, young team making mistakes. They've got a lot of growing up still to do. They're playing better than I expected them to play this year. Maybe I jumped the gun a little too early last week with the whole, man, they beat the Chiefs, so let's crown them there. They still got to fight for a playoff spot. They got a tough schedule coming up, so just keep fighting. That's all you can do as a young team. And finally, feeling so good. Sunday night was amazing. Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles. Dallas 33, Philadelphia 13. Not the best offensive performance, mind you, by the Dallas Cowboys. A good one. I think we had a couple stalls, but man, have we found a weapon. And his name is Brandon Automatic Motherfucking Aubrey. That man has not missed a field goal. He has missed extra points, which I don't like. I don't like you missing extra points. But he has not missed a field goal this season. He is 30 for 30. He nailed a 60-yarder and a 59. Not barely. Those things had room. That 60 could have been good from 65. He gets so much height when he kicks that ball. And I don't know how he gets the power behind it. But former soccer player, and there's JJ.
Right there.
Yeah. Former soccer player, turned to, went and played in the USFL, won a championship there, comes and plays for Dallas. Dallas looking pretty smart on some of these USFL players. We went and picked up Devontae Turpin. He's been a very good staple and set piece for the Dallas Cowboys. Right here, bud. Come right here. You'll see yourself if you stand right here. And now picking up this kicker who has become a weapon for us. Those two longer field goals, man, that drive stalled out. You think you're punting. That's still a very close game. Nope. Brandon Aubrey, go in, kick him, bud. And he nailed them. Now, I do need to see what he does in bad weather. Because obviously, he's made a lot of good kicks in the dome. So we need to see what he can do in a bad weather stadium. Especially come playoff time. It's middle of winter. You're going to get rain. You're going to get wind. We'll see what he can do there. But, man, we found a weapon on our special teams again. Credit to our special teams coach. Do not let that guy go ever. I don't ever think special teams coaches really get promoted very much higher up than special teams coaches. I've seen a couple maybe. But just keep that man right where he's at. That's where he belongs. Granted, they did mess up a little bit on the fake punt. And that's so there. Like I said, there was some things with Dallas I didn't like. The offense stalling out at times still looked good. That special teams play where we gave it the fake punt, fine. That's a little bit on Jalen Tolbert. He's a wide receiver, not a DB, so he kind of didn't read it right. Man, if he could have read that, I think he could have caught that and ran that back. I'd have been sick. Defensively, though, man, did we look good. Stephon Gilmore, man, player of the game for me. Solid tackling, man. That have a player of a game, and he forced a fumble and he had a few pass breakups, but it was his solid tackling that really won us that game, man. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith caught that football, and this proved maybe that we have a shot against the Niners too, because the Niners, that's how they were beating the Eagles, is man, quick pass to Debo breaking tackles, getting down. Even Dallas was having that this game too. So being able to have those solid open field tackles is amazing. That fourth down stop tackle was a thing of beauty. Stephon Gilmore, definitely player of the game this week, and rightfully so, man. That we lost Trayvon early this season, and I was not hopeful for our secondary, but Deron Bland has stepped up when he needed to. Last 2 weeks haven't been his best weeks, so Stephon Gilmore is coming in and being that veteran presence and changing it. DK was scorching Bland last week, so they moved Stephon over. He shuts him down. Stephon had AJ most of the game, made the tackle on Devontae Smith. They really didn't test Bland that much either, so I don't know if Jalen was too scared to throw to Bland, because Geno wasn't. Maybe it was because, though, they were hoping to get the AJ Deron matchup, and they didn't. So, they got the top 10 draft. So, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr. is number 3. They say him going to Arizona. Ooh, I could see that. Jaden Daniels right now, because New York where they're at, they could get him. He just came off the Heisman win. Yeah, Fasha to the Washington Commanders would not be a bad pickup. They need a better offensive line to come out. That mock draft's not bad. That's not a bad mock draft. And the only other bad thing I had for Dallas was that fumble on Dak. But granted, he was trying to escape pressure, and any receiver gets open right at that last second, I think he gets rid of the ball instead of fumbling it. So it is what it is. It's the only points that they scored, minus that weren't field goals for Philadelphia. So I'm not too upset with it. I would like not to see that. Turnovers can be a thing, but it was a fumble, not an interception. So I'm not so super mad with it. Jake Ferguson, though, once again, for the good things on offense, stepping up when he needs to, making big plays, breaking tackles, getting us first downs. I can't say much more about Ferguson other than he is becoming a true tight end one. And that's, again, I loved Schultz too. I thought what he did for us was great. But maybe our tight ends coach is another great coach that eventually is going to get a promotion because we keep making tight ends. No doubt about it, A lot of people were very concerned when we lost Jason Witten, myself included, but we've really done a really good job. I thought, I wanted Kincaid. We didn't get him in the draft, but Schoonmaker's made plays. We got him in the second round. I think it's a great steal. Ferguson doing what he's doing. It's just great football right now by Dallas, and this defense is just looking solid finally again. Even with Micah playing with a little bit of a flu, freaking moving Lane Johnson back into Hurts, and that is a sack right there. That one's earned. That wasn't given. That one earned. He had to fight for that sack, and he still got it with a guy draped over him. Micah getting held a lot. I know the officiating wasn't the best in here. There was flags thrown then picked up, and not the best officiating game again. But hey, for once it was going our way. Can't complain too much on that. For Philadelphia, man, I told you guys. I know what their record is. I get it. But they weren't playing great football. They found ways to win, which is good. You have to do that. But when we're blowing out Washington, and we're blowing out New York, and we're blowing out the Patriots, you guys are barely beating them. San Francisco is doing the same thing. They're blowing out teams. If you're going to be that elite team, you have to blow out those bad teams. You can't just barely beat them. I think their offense is at times very inconsistent in the way they call plays. Maybe their offensive coordinator just saying, "Hey, Rudy, Drogon, Asher, chill." Having 3 dogs is a mistake. They're very inconsistent in how they want to do things. I think that when they get out of their game plan, they have a hard time finding their way back or making a new one. The defensive line's great, but if they're getting the ball out quick enough, the defensive line's nulled, and they're missing tackles. They feel very soft in the secondary and even in the linebacking core. It's not going to win you football games. And you drop to the 5 seed now. Now, granted, you have the conference tiebreaker over us, but right now we have the division because we've played more division games. You guys still have 3 division games, or 2 division games. We have 1. So that's why, we're just a little bit above you in the division. Come on, Giants. And Seahawks. And Cardinals. Just all of them, Now, you're going to enter your easiest part of the schedule. The Seahawks are no slouch. Obviously, the Giants are playing better. The Cardinals are always a surprise team. But this is the chance for the Philadelphia Eagles to fix themselves a little bit, correct themselves. And if you go on a 4-game tear right into the playoffs, that's a lot of confidence and a big boost. Do I think they go 4-0? Most likely. Is there a chance, though, for them to slip up in either one of these games? 100%. And I think it starts Monday night with Seattle. An extra day for both teams to prepare. Pete Carroll's one of the better coaches. I think, Seattle's playing better football this last couple weeks. They did lose twice to us and to the Niners. But, man, this is the Seahawks' tough stretch. It went Niners, us, Niners, Eagles. So the Seahawks are playing a tough stretch right now, and they need to get through this tough stretch with at least winning 1 game. And then I think their schedule is a little bit easier coming up. But, yeah, the Eagles can fix their problems hopefully here. That secondary, though, man, I just don't know what it is. And maybe you lost both your offensive coordinator and defense coordinator. That's hard. That's hard to come back from. Something we're probably going to have to deal with next year. However, if I'm Mike McCarthy, our defensive backs coach, if he does not go anywhere else, should be promoted to defensive coordinator if Dan Quinn leaves. Just calling that right there. But yeah, it's gonna be tough. And for Dallas, we still got Buffalo and Miami coming up, and the Lions. Lions, I'm not worried about as much anymore. Miami again, if Tyreek's in, maybe. I think we can get enough pressure on Tua. So really, it comes down to Buffalo and what Buffalo team we get. Do we get the weird Buffalo team that's so good you can't, there's nothing stopping them, or do we get heavy turnovers. Defense can't stop anybody. I'm really surprised Von Miller's still playing, by the way. I thought he was arrested for domestic violence. So, really, I mean, innocent until proven guilty. But I'm very surprised that they still let him on the field right now when what they've done with other players. But yes, we definitely need to see where things go for Dallas. That Buffalo matchup's going to be tough. And I think it's time for a big Deron Bland game again. Or these safeties. They were playing pretty solid. Malik Hooker played great. Deron Kearse played. Wilson. Those linebackers, or those safeties are playing amazing. I would like the linebackers to step up a little more, Clark and Bell, obviously. But our defensive line's doing what it's going to do, so I'm not worried. And then Dak, just, again, no turnovers. This isn't the same Buffalo defense at the start of the season, so let's go for it. Let's get this done. Let's win this out. Let's let these other teams, worry about it. Let's just play our game. Get that number 1 seed. Because if it goes through Dallas, we are going to the Super Bowl. I don't care. You can call me a typical Cowboys fan for saying that, but if it goes through Dallas, we are winning the Super Bowl. Hands down. Because I don't think the AFC has anybody. The Ravens, they're good, they're great, but I don't think they're elite yet. Now, granted, an elite defense like the Ravens have wins Super Bowls, but I still think their offense will just make too many mistakes. And Lamar hasn't showed us what he can do in the playoffs. He hasn't done much in the playoffs, just like, very much like Dak Prescott. But, yeah, right now that's going to go into our top 5 power rankings here. At number 5, I'm going to put the Cincinnati Bengals up there. They're playing good football. They're getting in, playing solid. They definitely deserve that. Trying to look, honestly, the way things shook out this week, I don't really think much about this. I know we'll start at we'll go 1 and down because honestly that's easy. 1, San Francisco 49ers. 2, Dallas Cowboys. 3, Baltimore Ravens. Those are the top 3 teams right now in all of football. There's no disputing it, no arguing it. Now 4 through 12 you can argue so much for. Call me crazy. Cleveland Browns, Cincinnati Bengals. They're all playing good football right now. Give it to them. The other teams are all losing. I'm not going to give it to them. Yeah. I don't think there's really, honestly, 4 through 12 can just be interchanged with whatever you want because there's only 3 teams right now playing solid football consistently, and that's the Niners, Ravens, and Cowboys. So Niners 1, Cowboys 2, Ravens 3. Done. So that is it for Week 14 NFL review. I will see you all next Tuesday for the Week 15 NFL review. If you're not doing so, hit that follow button. Turn those notifications to on, please, so you can join us for our lives. I will be going live a little later today with Red Dead Redemption 2 playthrough. We are trying to get 100% completion there. We have slowed down a little bit on the Red Dead play, but I want to pick it back up again because I want to get to Arkham Knights. Rudy, drop it. Get your toy out of Rudy's mouth. Hurry. Grab it, JJ. Yeah, he's chewing it. Whatever. And then we'll do some more Call of Duty nights coming up here. We're getting into Modern Warfare 3 pretty heavily, so tune in for that. Go check out the YouTube channel. I have past episodes posted up on there. I need to go through and edit a lot of those videos down. I'm sorry for that. Time-wise, just haven't had much right now. I kind of like that. Sorry, saw a commercial of something I liked. And then head on over to TikTok, Dallas Cowboys Grim Reaper. Some great videos being posted up there with myself as the Dallas Cowboys Grim Reaper. We're taking souls and digging holes. Hopefully making some great content you all like. So, yeah, I think that's it. Go Cowboys. Another solid win this week. Rooting for the Giants and the Seahawks. And I'll catch you guys all later.